Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Feel It to Heal It podcast. I hope you guys are having a beautiful day. It is almost 11:11 here. I'm about to hop on Morning Tea Live on Instagram. For those that don't know by now, I go live every Wednesday. We switch the time from 10:30 a.m. Pacific to 11 a.m. Pacific on Instagram, and I record it also for the pods. You guys have multiple options of where to listen and view this. So I'm about to hop on, and it is officially 11:11. Make a wish. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Morning Tea Live. I am your host, Rachel Beth Kelly, coming in live from San Diego, California for today's Morning Tea Live. I am so excited for today's topic, accepting where you are at to get to where you want to be. This topic is just everything, and it has been so alive for me this week. And I was like, I need to talk about this with the people. So, good morning. Thank you for joining. How do we feel about the time change? I used to always do Morning Tea Live at 10:30. And then I realized I always just needed a little extra time. And like 11 was my sweet spot for the start time of my day. So now I'm organizing my schedule. Doesn't look like that every day. Some mornings I have early morning sessions, but we do what we can because we are our own boss and it is freedom. Yay. Okay. So as you tune in, let me know where you're coming from and where you are located in this world. I just set up a call with a potential new client in Pakistan, and I'm like thinking back to the days where I was a clinical therapist and I could literally only work with humans that were in my same state. And now I get to work with humans all over the world. And it never gets old, like never. It never just like it just always feels so cool. I'm like, what? Who am I going to meet next? I love it. So let's start with a quick grounding. Oh, this tea is so good. Okay, so closing off the eyes, sitting up nice and tall, and taking a big deep breath in and slowly release. And just noticing how your body is feeling in this moment. Noticing how your breath is feeling. And beginning to deepen the breath with each inhale and exhale. Noticing any thoughts coming up. Noticing any sounds or distractions in your environment. Noticing any body sensations, any areas of tension or tightness. Doing a quick body scan, relaxing the brow line, your jaw, your shoulders, your heart, your chest, your abdomen, the base of your spine. Noticing any tension in your legs or toes or fingers or arms. And sending an intentional breath into any part of the body that needs it most. Making sure that you're not just breathing up into the chest, but you're breathing out into your stomach. So you're taking those big, full, deep belly breaths. So almost imagining your belly expanding like a balloon and then deflating and then inflating. I don't know if deflating is a word, but you know what I mean. And noticing any emotions that need to come up. Noticing any resistance to being still or to being with those emotions. Deepening the breath to show your body you're safe. Noticing what it feels like to be in stillness for a few moments. Maybe listening to anything you can hear, like right now I can hear birds chirping and it is so lovely. Also noticing things that may not feel lovely, like if you're in the city and you're hearing, horns honking, That was me when I lived in New York, just noticing it and then returning your focus to your breath. And now together, let's take 3 long deep breaths so you can put your hands on your chest and breathing all the way into your belly. Sending the breath up to the chest, holding and slowly exhaling out of the mouth. And again, breathing all the way in. And release. And one more. And whenever you're ready, you can start to slowly come back, maybe taking some organic movements, some neck rolls, some side stretches. Just noticing how your body's feeling. Mine is feeling sore from the gym, but so good. I love feeling sore from the gym. That means I got a good workout in. All right. So let's dive into today's topic. So what do I need to say about acceptance before change? Accepting where you are at to get to where you want to be. Okay. Let's call it how it is. As human beings, we resist and we fight our present reality because our inner child is resistant to the lessons and the growth and the learning that needs to happen in whatever current phase you are in. And in combination with the fact that we've been conditioned in society to always focus on the next goal, and 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 you're just sleeping through your life, never actually enjoying where you're currently at. So if we think about why we resist and fight where we're at, thinking that we need to be somewhere else, it's because when we actually accept where we're at, we then need to be with the parts of ourselves that we're fighting, because it's not that we're fighting the reality, it's that we're fighting what we make the reality mean, or we're fighting the emotions or the parts of ourselves that reality brings up. So for example, I have a client that is at a job that she doesn't really like, and she's wanting to be at a different job. And so I said, in order to get to the next job, you have to first actually surrender and look at, why am I meant to be where I'm currently at? Like, what does this current job have to teach me? Or what does this current relationship have to teach me? Or whatever the thing is that we're resisting. What does this thing have to teach me that I have to learn before I can then go to the next thing? And when we resist this, the lessons just persist, right? If we have a lesson to be learned and we're not learning it, instead we're just fighting it and denying it and fighting it some more, we then don't actually learn the lessons that we are meant to learn. And then we actually prolong what we actually desire. Now, of course, there are situations like if you're in a relationship with someone and you're like, I really don't want to be in this relationship anymore. That's in your power, right? So we're talking about things that are not in your power in terms of, we can't control the timing of things, but we can always come back to what's in our timing. So for example, if I'm calling in a new one-on-one client, I can't control when that person comes in, right? The way that I could have more power over if I'm dating someone, I then am able to break up with them, right? That's different. That's me leaving a situation. But I'm talking about situations where we want to call things in. And even at a job, right? We could say, oh, I'm going to leave this job. But we always have to look at, is it actually in alignment to leave this job? Or do I actually need this job right now for money, for lessons, for learning, whatever the thing is, right? Like there were many jobs in my career as a therapist where I did not want to be there, but I knew that there was a lot of learning for me to do. And so I had to surrender to, or I didn't have to, I chose to surrender to the learning of, what am I meant to learn here? And then trusting when it was time to leave. So let's say I'm calling in a new client. I can't control when that client comes in, but I can come back to what is in my power. And what's in my power is showing up, telling the people about the work I do, telling them how it could help them, and then being open to attracting the right clients who are ready to do this work. Hi, Noonie. So we always come back to what's in our power. But if we're resisting, let's say, the job or the lessons, or let's say you're not making as much money as you want to, why is that happening, right? We're always attracting and manifesting, whether we're unconscious about it or we're conscious about it. The more conscious we can be, the more we can catch the unconscious, sneaky ways in which we are attracting more of what we don't want to attract. So, for example, with money, if you want more money, but you're not fully surrendering and accepting where you're at financially, you're not actually looking at what are the emotions that are coming up in this present moment. So do you have shame around how much money you're making? Is your ego getting in the way? Do you have fear around it? Because resisting acceptance around that present day reality is you avoiding that shame, that fear, whatever your ego is making it mean about you, rather than looking at it, how is this happening for me? What is the universe and God wanting me to learn? Okay, maybe it's wanting me to work on my ego, right? And like not making shit mean stuff that it doesn't mean. We attach so much meaning as human beings, and it just literally does not mean shit other than we are human. So during times where I have struggled with acceptance, whether it's accepting where I'm at in my business and wanting to be somewhere else, accepting where I'm at financially, wanting to be somewhere else, accepting where I'm at socially in terms of, oh, I'm going through more of this alone period and I want more connections, and not accepting where I'm at. Part of that is me avoiding the shame that I feel around decisions that have led me to this place. Hard lessons that I had to learn that led me to this place. We always want to avoid the lessons. And when we're kicking and screaming internally of like, why do I have to learn these lessons? That is our inner child, because if you are coming from your highest self, you understand we are literally put on this earth to learn lessons. That is literally what we are here to do. That's why we call it Earth School, baby, because we are here to learn. We're not here to know everything. When we're in 5D spirit world and we are in one consciousness, we do know everything, right? That's why if you've ever connected to a loved one who's passed, that conversation looks a lot different than when they were human. Because when they were in their human self, they had all of their trauma, their protectors, their ego, all of the things blocking them. But when they're actually in their spirit world self, it's like they're able to see it all. But as humans, we're here to learn. We're not meant to know it all. That actually would suck the entire joy and magic. And so what I love helping my clients do is feel excited about the unknown rather than feel terrified of it. Like, ooh, what else is the universe going to deliver? What else can I attract? Like, it gets to be this fun, exciting game of life. Like, it gets to actually feel really exciting. And with one of my clients who was attracting a new job, and she went from 6 months of 0 job options, offers, and she applied to 320. And after 3 sessions of working together, she now has 3 different offers. Like, you can't make this up. And so the unknown went from feeling so scary to, oh my God, like what new offer is going to come next? And this is all because we have processed her stored pain and worked on shifting her energy. Everything is energy. So a huge thing that came up for me this week that I journaled about yesterday was I was avoiding my shame in a very sneaky way that I was not conscious of until I was conscious of it. And now I'm actually writing out all the ways that I felt shame about this thing, of realizing I was feeling very stuck in certain areas of my life. And I will go more into detail once I'm kind of on the other side and have processed through and can teach about it in a more effective way. But I realized I was fighting this present situation. I was fighting it. I was in denial about it. I was acting as if it wasn't happening. And I was just like avoiding it because it brought up shame. So if I were to fully accept where I'm at in this present moment, in this area of my life, I would have to then be with the shame. And so my nervous system was doing some sneaky shit of trying to avoid the shame by then engaging in behaviors that were then perpetuating the shame. And this is where the shame cycle continues. We do this all the time. We feel shame about this is how addiction starts, right? Think about an alcoholic. We feel shame about something, you go drink or replace that with whatever your addiction is, alcohol, weed, TV, porn, sex, whatever the fuck it is, video games, and you then drink to numb the shame. But then as you're drinking, you do more shameful shit, and then it perpetuates the shame and the shame and the shame and the shame about the shame, and it's just constant shame spiraling. Now, shame spiraling is not the same as actually feeling your shame. Shame spiraling, where you are so hard on yourself, you're like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot, da da da, and you're just shaming yourself. That's actually a sneaky way of avoiding your shame. That is a protector that your inner child developed as a way to be hard on yourself because that felt safer than others, such as your parents or the adults in your lives being hard on you. So we can say, oh, we can't shame ourselves into change. And that's correct. We can't shame ourselves into change, like being hard on myself, like just do better, do better, do better, do better, right? But we can feel our shame and allow that to be the catalyst in change, right? So the difference is when we're feeling the shame. So yesterday I had to feel the shame of like, oh, I've been resisting this thing, which has made me feel shame. And the reason I was resisting accepting this thing is because it brought me shame to realize that all these things that led me to this current moment were ways that I was relating that was not in alignment, that was coming from a little girl inner child place of external saving, of temporary comfort and soothing and addictions, not taking myself seriously, and all of that conditioning and wounding coming up. So I had to fully, I did a lot of shifting yesterday of fully writing out everything I was feeling shame about. I feel shame that I did this. I feel shame that I related this way. We avoid this at all costs because we think that if we feel shame, we're going to die. But I promise you, the avoidance of shame is actually what kills people. It is not feeling it. So even when it feels like you're going to die, I promise you won't. If anything, when you feel it, you're going to then feel so much lighter on the other side. So this is how I move through an acceptance and a surrendering of feeling my shame. I write out all the ways that I'm feeling shame. And then I look at why did I engage in those behaviors? And I get radically honest. Oh, I engaged in this behavior because I wasn't taking myself seriously. Why wasn't I taking myself seriously? Because I grew up, in a family where sometimes we didn't take shit seriously, right? We live in a society where we don't take our feelings seriously, or we take shit too seriously, right? So I looked at the why, the root, where was it coming from? I have compassion for that younger part. And then I say, okay, but now I know better, so I got to do better. So it's not that I'm shaming myself into change, like you have to do better, like you suck, being hard on myself. It's a loving kick in my ass. It's a loving nudge of like, Rachel, you got this. You have to do better. And not in a shaming way, but like, you got to do better. Like, you are so much better than this. You can do better than this, right? And so it's like a loving being with the shame. There's a different energetic difference in that, right? So, and then I think about, okay, what am I meant to learn in accepting this? And what are the benefits of accepting this? So just before this live, I was passing by my room and I looked into my room. My dogs were on my bed and it was just so sunny. And I had this cozy blanket on my bed. And I was like, okay, I have to do some shit, but I'm just going to take a few minutes to just like lay in the sun. And it made me reflect back on when COVID first hit and I was alone in my apartment. And I just did a lot of being and slowing down. And it was right before a period where then everything sped up in my life. And so I have these goals and I'm feeling frustrated that I'm not there yet. And then as I was laying there in the sun and I was listening to the birds chirping, and I was like, what a fucking gift this is that it's a Wednesday morning. And I used to be in an office all day. I used to just sit all day. And now I get to now I get full freedom over my schedule and I get to just lay in the sun for a few minutes with my dogs, listening to the birds chirp. Like, what a gift that is. And so I started reframing everything. So one of the things that I was having trouble accepting was that I'm in more of a lone period. And I'm doing a training inside my membership this Friday. So if you're feeling lonely on your healing journey, go join us. But the point is that when I was resisting it, I was pedestaling the other side of it, right? Of like, oh, when I'm going to have more aligned connections. But then when I really thought about it, I was like, I don't actually want that right now. What I actually want is to just be here, connecting to myself in a deeper way. And what a gift it is that I have this slower period where I don't have a bunch of plans on my calendar right now with people. I don't have, like before, I would always have plans with a friend over the weekend. And although that was fun in some ways, it's also such a beautiful chapter of not having those plans and literally just being with myself, not having to talk to as many people a day, not having to make as many plans. And it's not that you ever have to do that, but there are just seasons of life that are busier with plans and socializing. And there are periods of life that are more for tending to yourself and enjoying spaciousness. And so as I was laying in the sun, I was just like feeling the depths of the spaciousness and the freedom I have right now. I don't have children. I don't have a partner. I don't have a best friend anymore. I don't have many friends anymore. My family's across the country. Like I moved, so I don't have those same neighbor friends that I used to have. Like I am so alone. But I also, when I'm connected to myself, I don't feel alone. I almost feel alone in a good way, right? In a way that's like, it just feels so spacious, like so much space and time to just be with myself and to connect to me and my purpose. And I really like just have this full moment of deep, deep gratitude of it. And so this thing that I was resisting is now this thing that I feel so grateful for. And then there are other areas of my life too, in terms of my business, that really went through this death and rebirth. And I'm like, okay, why is this happening for me? Well, there were lessons I needed to learn. One of the things I talk to you guys about so often is grounded expansion. And before, I had a lot of growth in my business, but it wasn't from this really grounded place. It was from this place of like, oh, I'm a new entrepreneur and I'm just like going and making moves and it's exciting and I'm making money and like I'm making an impact and all these things. And that was beautiful for that chapter. But if you guys are watching on YouTube, you're going to see Luna's face real close up to the camera. So it was great for that chapter, but now this next level of growth, which often can feel like you're going backwards, but I promise it is all forward movement. It's like this, like a slinky, forward, oh, deepening forward. It's all forward movement, even when it feels like, oh my God, I'm back at square one. Like I had this growth in my business and then I kind of plateaued and then I kind of dipped and then I grew and then blah, blah, blah. And it's like, there's so many lessons for me in that, so many lessons. And if I resist it, I'm like, oh, I'm not where I should be. Or my ego's like, oh, why isn't it going the way I want it to? But I just fully accept where I'm at and learn the lessons. I then get to move forward in a way that actually is going to catapult everything and feel so much more grounded and in alignment. So we have to allow messiness to happen in life. We can't control it. We're not meant to control it. And so the more that we resist what we don't want, we persist it, right? And so when we actually accept and surrender of like, I fully accept where I'm at in my business, I fully accept where I'm at socially, I fully accept where I'm at health-wise, I fully accept where I'm at money-wise, like I fully accept all areas of my life. And that acceptance allows me to experience deeper gratitude, deeper learning, deeper growth, deeper spaciousness to just slow down and really just be in this chapter because it's temporary. This chapter can change like that. It can literally change, whoop. And the ironic part is as soon as we accept, that is when we open ourselves up to the change that we want. And so just as we're starting to settle into this acceptance of like, okay, like I'm really loving this, like, spaciousness and the slowness and the slower time in my life and my business, like, let me just enjoy it. When we accept it, we then put ourselves in the energy of change. Acceptance always comes before change, always. So radical acceptance looks like, how would I be relating to myself and to the world if, and others, and to whatever it is that you want the change in, how would I relate to that if I were in full acceptance? And looking at how that's not in alignment with how you actually have been relating. And you have to get so radically honest with yourself. This is the hard part. We love to delude ourselves as human beings. We love to justify. We love to make valid excuses. I have been making some very, very valid, well, very not so valid and some valid excuses and justifying my behavior because I was engaging in behaviors that were not in alignment with where I'm at, but were more in alignment with where I wanted to be, but was not actually in alignment with where I wanted to be because it was just perpetuating more of what I didn't want rather than just fucking surrendering and saying, okay, God, I hear you. I'm going to stop fighting it. I'm going to just surrender and be with what is. And it just feels so much better. Like I feel so much lighter. It feels so much more easeful. It feels so much more purposeful. And it is in that acceptance that comes change each and every time. I promise you. We think if we want change, we have to go make it happen and go force it. We have to accept. And people think accepting means, well, I'm just settling or I'm just giving up. No, it's actually quite the opposite. You're not settling. You're accepting that this is where you are in order to learn the lessons and experience the growth and experience what you need to experience to get to where you actually want to be. So you're not just accepting breadcrumbs and being like, well, this is it, right? And again, you don't have to accept things that are abusive or things that you don't desire that you actually have control over. Again, like if you're dating someone and you're like, well, I just have to accept that he's treating me like shit. No, like fucking leave, like do what you got to do. But also, if you're not ready to leave the job, the relationship, whatever it is, there's still more learning for you to do there. If you're trying to figure it out, I'm going to use match number 4 as a perfect example because I have not done a third episode on dating diaries because there's really nothing to update except that match number 4 and I are finito. So he was such a good example of that. If I was trying to figure it out, I was like, are we in? Are we out? Are we doing this? Are we not? Like, what is this? What is this connection? Right. And I was so busy trying to figure it out that I had to just accept that I didn't know. I did not know, which again, as humans, we love to try and know because it feels safer. But I had to accept I don't know. And by accepting I don't know and just allowing it to unfold as it naturally was meant to unfold, it did. It ran its course. And I could feel energetically the difference of when it was actually done versus when I was trying to force it to be something it wasn't or forcing it to be done. And so do I know what's going to happen in the future? None of us know what's going to happen in the future, right? So even when we think we know, we don't know. But what we know in this moment, in this present moment, is in this present moment, that chapter with him has run its course. There were lessons that I needed to learn, which were great. There were challenges that I experienced, which were challenging. And I could feel energetically like, oh, okay, it's done. Like I could just feel it. There's just a different energy when something comes to completion rather than when you're trying to force it. So be radically honest. The job, the relationship, whatever it is that you're trying to move away from, have you actually learned the lessons? Does it actually feel complete? And if not, stop trying to force it. Learn the lessons, surrender to where you are, and understand that the more you surrender, the quicker things will change, like beyond what you can even imagine. And a perfect example of this is yesterday I did all this energetic work around surrendering and accepting and coming into relationship with my change, and literally woke up this morning to someone inquiring about one-on-one, right? It's like, that's how quickly things can change. Now, we don't attach on to outcomes, right? We're not like, oh my God, this is it. This is the new client, or this is the new job, or this is the new partner. We hold everything lightly because our safety is in us, not dependent on the client signing on, not dependent on that person asking you out on a second date, not dependent on you getting the promotion. You attract everything with your energy. Your number one job and your only job is to take care of you and what is happening in your internal state, because that is the only thing that will actually create what external state you desire. Nothing externally can take place of what is happening for you internally. Nothing. No amount of money, no amount of partners, no amount of friends, no amount of promotions, no amount of trophies, like none of it. None of it can take the place of how you feel internally. So rather than focusing on chasing the goal or chasing the thing or chasing where you want to be, accept and surrender, not give up. That's not giving up. It's actually you putting your energy and your belief into what you want, because it's communicating to God and the universe, oh, I don't need to go chase and force this thing to happen, because I believe so deeply in myself and what I'm here to create and what I'm here to do, that I'm surrendering to God's timeline, because God has a much better timeline than we do. Because our soul is here to learn, not to go chase money or partners or external things. We are here to learn. We are here to be. We are here to experience being human. We are here to have more moments of presence, like I just had laying in the sun listening to the birds chirp. Do more of that. Do more being. And the more you be, the more you create what you want to be in terms of external and internal. So, do we have any questions about acceptance before change, before we start wrapping up? And I'm just looking to see if I want to. I used to be a DBT therapist, and we would teach the skill of radical acceptance. So I want to see, hold on one sec. I'm going to see if I feel called to share these steps. Oh my God, do you guys remember when Morning Tea Live used to only be me teaching DBT skills? Like, for those OGs that were here at the very beginning of my business, I didn't know what the fuck to talk about on Instagram Live. I remember when my business coach told me, go on Instagram Live. I was like, what? Like, what is that? What do I do? What do I even talk about? Like, I had no idea. It was like learning a whole new language. And here we are almost 3 years later, where I have shifted from teaching DBT skills, which is what my background was in, to now teaching about this healing method, because it is everything. So let me see if I can find the radical acceptance. Step 1, observe that you are questioning or fighting reality. So saying things like, it shouldn't be this way, or why is this happening? Step 2, remind yourself that the unpleasant reality is just as it is and cannot be changed. This is what is happening. This is why it's happening for me. Step 3, remind yourself that there are causes for this reality. So that was very helpful for me yesterday when I was thinking about, wow, I have been avoiding acceptance because acceptance actually means that I have to feel shame. And then I have to look at why I'm feeling shame, and I have to look at why this is all happening. Oh, because of ways I related, right? It all comes back to us, always. which is great. It's not a shameful thing of like, oh, it's all my fault. No, it's like, oh, I'm the creator of my life. Okay, so if I can look at the ways that I was relating in a way that wasn't serving me, I then get to actually change that to create ways of relating that do serve me. And so my future is not dependent on something outside of myself. It's dependent on me creating what I want to create in this present moment, always coming back to the present. So acknowledging that some sort of history led up to this very moment, considering how our lives have been shaped by a series of factors, noticing that given these causal factors and how history led up to this moment, this reality had to occur this way. And I would add to this that it's looking at when we feel shame about something, how would we have done things differently, right? Because we can always use the excuse of like, well, it was just meant to happen this way, but that's also a sneaky way we avoid shame. We can just say, oh, it happened this way because I made those decisions because I have free will as a human being. What would I have done differently? How would I have made different decisions that would have led to a different result or a different outcome? So that's where the radical honesty part comes in, because I've caught myself being like, well, this is just how it was meant to happen. Sometimes, yeah, but other times it's, oh, well, it happened because I made choices, right? And yes, maybe I was meant to make certain choices to learn certain lessons, but we all have free will. So if I had chosen differently, I would have learned the lesson quicker. So step 4 is practice accepting with the whole self, mind, body, and spirit. Be creative in finding ways to involve your whole self. Use accepting self-talk, but also consider using relaxation, mindfulness of your breath, going to a place that helps you bring acceptance or imagery, prayer, and so on. Step 5, practice opposite action. List all the behaviors that you would do if you did accept the facts. Then act as if you have already accepted the facts. Engage in the behaviors that you would do if you really had accepted. All right. Step 6, cope ahead with events that seem unacceptable. Imagine your mind's eye believing what you don't want to accept. Rehearse in your mind what you would do if you had accepted what seems unacceptable. Then attend to body sensations as you think about what you need to accept, right? So for me, yesterday, it brought up shame and was there fear? Shame? Yeah, there was fear. Usually shame and fear go hand in hand for me. So, because it feels scary to feel shame. So I felt shame and fear in my body, and I had to just tend to that. I co-regulated with my group. I breathed, I journaled, I tended to myself. And I allowed it to move through, and that felt a lot better. Allow disappointment, sadness, or grief to arise within you. Acknowledge that life can be worth living even when there is pain. Do pros and cons if you find yourself resisting practicing acceptance. So this is why DBT was such a precursor to where I'm at now, because as you can see, it talks about body sensations, pain, being with pain, right? Like all the other modalities was like, well, just change this thought and then you can change the emotion. And it's like, we're not supposed to avoid pain. We're supposed to actually learn how to come into relationship with it. And speaking of acceptance, the more that we actually accept that life is painful, the more that we can actually change how we relate to it. And the more that we can actually experience the other emotions that much more fully. When we resist the pain, we spend our entire lives unconsciously or consciously avoiding it. Oh, and I just got a 101 application as we're talking about acceptance. Like, you guys literally cannot make this up. You cannot make this up. I don't lie. All right. So does anyone have any questions for those that are live right now? On acceptance, on change, on how to accept, on how to be with the emotions or the parts of yourself that you're resisting. The big key here is be honest with yourself, but don't make shit mean stuff about you. It does not mean anything about you. I related in a lot of ways that brought up so much shame around my current situation, just in so many areas of my life. And I was like, oh, okay. But this doesn't mean anything about me as a human. It literally just means I'm human. And it means that I had learning to do and I could now make choices differently, which is great because now I get to relate differently. Okay, if there are no questions, I think that is all I have for you guys today. Just a reminder, there are two ways to do this work if you are wanting deeper support and actually expansion in creating what you want in your life. I have one-on-one spots open and my membership. So this Friday's membership is about the alone period. It's about loneliness. It's about that part of the healing journey where you've outgrown what you used to relate to in terms of behaviors, people, things, all the areas of your life, but you have not fully stepped into this new area of your life, like new connections, new alignment. And you're in this in-between period, which is where I'm at. And maybe like me, you were resisting it. Maybe like me, you were really just not happy about it. And now you've maybe just learned to accept it more and you're feeling good, feeling great. So this training is going to be all about how to navigate and move through and alchemize and get the most out of that alone period and how to actually connect deeper to yourself so that you don't actually feel alone. Loneliness usually means two things. Either we're disconnected from ourselves or our inner child is needing something. So join me for the training, link in bio. It's going to be Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific in my private Facebook group for my Beyond Your Wildest Dreams membership. It is $111 per month for weekly live trainings. You get journal prompts, homework, affirmations, I already said homework, private Facebook group, all the things, all the support, exclusive Q&As. You can ask me anything. It's a much more intimate setting than Morning Tea Live or my podcast. It's where you get a little bit more of that support without investing for, the higher one-on-one or group programs. So that is all. Those are the two ways to jump in. DM me if you want to chat more. And I love you guys so much. And I want you to really look at where do you need to accept things in your life right now, and just watch how that will bring all of the change you desire. Mwah. Love you guys so much, and I will see you next week.